Have you ever been so certain of who you were, your role, your morals, your boundaries, only to have it all unravel in a single moment? It happened on the night of my 43rd birthday. Our house was buzzing with guests, laughter, music, and the clinking of wine glasses. But upstairs, behind a closed door, a secret was unfolding. One that would shatter the image I had of myself, my marriage, and my family. I was on my way to grab some aspirin when I heard it. A soft sound. A gasp. Then, my own voice. Except it wasn't me speaking. It was me moaning. And the person listening. My stepson. What he was watching should have never existed, let alone been discovered. But the real shock wasn't that he found it. It was what I saw in his eyes when I caught him. Not guilt. Not shame. Something far more dangerous. My name is Lila, and for most of my adult life, I've worn the labels people gave me without question. Wife, stepmother, dependable hostess, the quiet one at family gatherings. I married Tom when I was 35. He was 10 years older, a man with gentle hands and a practical heart. He didn't sweep me off my feet, but he made me feel safe. After the chaos of my 20s, safe felt like love. Tom had a son from his first marriage, Adrian. He was 17 when I met him, tall and angular with the kind of teenage energy that never quite sat still. From the start, there was something curious about him. He didn't rebel the way you'd expect. Instead, he watched. He listened. He was always just a little too observant for someone his age. I tried to be the kind of stepmother who didn't overstep, warm but not too close. He never called me Mom, and I never expected him to. He just called me Lila, and somehow, it always felt like a secret nickname. He had this habit of looking at me too long, like he was reading something I hadn't written. Over time, we found a rhythm. He went off to college, then graduate school. Years passed. Tom and I settled into a routine life, grocery lists, dinner at 7, and weekends where we mostly scrolled our phones in the same room. The spark we once had flickered down to something more like a quiet pilot light. Then, about 5 months ago, Adrian moved back to town for a job. Just temporary, he said. He asked to stay with us while he looked for an apartment, and Tom welcomed him like it was nothing. I told myself it would be fine. It was only a few weeks. But his presence shifted the air in our home. He was no longer a boy. He was a man, self-assured, calm, with a way of making eye contact that felt like gravity. We'd share morning coffee in the kitchen, just the two of us. He remembered how I took it. He noticed when I changed my hair. He laughed at all my jokes, even the dry ones Tom never caught. It started off innocent, or at least it felt that way. But looking back, I can see now how it grew. Quiet moments stretched too long. Lingering glances became something heavier. A smile at the wrong time. A touch that lingered on the small of my back. Nothing ever crossed the line. Until it did. It didn't happen all at once. At first, it was easy to dismiss, just tension born from proximity, from a house that suddenly felt too small for unspoken thoughts. But the looks kept coming. The moments kept stacking, quiet and cumulative. Like a slow drip, barely noticeable until you realize the glass is full and your hands are already wet. One afternoon, I was folding laundry in the guest room. Adrian walked in without knocking. "Hey," he said casually, like this was normal. "You always fold socks that perfectly." I laughed. It's one of my few domestic talents. He stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "That's not true. You make killer coffee. And your chicken piccata. Unfair." I didn't know what to say. Compliments from Adrian always landed differently. They weren't casual. They were *studded star. I cleared my throat. "You're welcome to take over dinner duties anytime." "I'd rather just help you," he said, eyes lingering. That was the first time I felt the breath catch in my chest. I looked away, pretending not to feel the heat blooming up my neck. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake beside Tom, who was snoring softly, a gentle rhythm like white noise. I stared at the ceiling and let the guilt crawl in. But it wasn't just guilt, it was confusion. Why did Adrian's words stay with me longer than they should? Why did I feel seen when he looked at me? A few days later, we were alone in the kitchen again. Tom had left for a late meeting, and the house was quiet except for the sound of rain tapping on the windows. Adrian leaned against the counter, his voice low. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," I said, trying to keep it light. "Are you happy?" he asked, eyes locking on mine. "With him?" The question hit like a slap. Not because it was inappropriate, because it was *true. Because no one had asked me that in years. "I'm content," I said carefully. He tilted his head. "That's not what I asked." I turned away, pretending to search the cupboard. "That's not really a fair question." "But it's an honest one," he said, softer now. I took a deep breath. "You don't get to ask me that, Adrian. You're my stepson." He laughed, dry, not mocking. "That label doesn't change how I feel." I froze. "What do you mean?" There was a pause. The air thickened. He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell the rain on his jacket. "I mean," he said quietly, "that every time I look at you, I think about all the ways I'm not supposed to feel." My heart thundered. I could barely breathe. "Adrian, stop," I said, voice shaking. "This is wrong." "Then why haven't you walked away?" he asked. I had no answer. Because I hadn't. I stood there, rooted in place, heart thudding in my throat, part of me desperate to flee, and part of me afraid that he'd let me. He didn't touch me. He didn't need to. The silence between us said everything we were too afraid to speak aloud. After that, things shifted again, this time in silence. We avoided being alone. We passed each other in hallways without speaking. But the tension didn't dissolve. It coiled tighter, more volatile. Then came my birthday. Tom planned a party, invited half the neighborhood, decorated the house like it was a gala. I smiled, laughed, played the role I knew so well. But I could feel Adrian watching me all night, quietly, from across the room. His eyes never strayed far. It was late when I went upstairs for a break. My head was pounding, and I just wanted a moment of quiet. That's when I heard it. Low, breathy sounds. My voice. My moan. Coming from my bedroom. The air went out of me. My legs moved without permission. I pushed the door open just a crack. And there he was, Adrian, sitting on the edge of the bed, watching a video on my laptop. That video. A private moment I'd recorded years ago. Something intimate. Raw. Never meant for anyone else. He hadn't noticed me yet. His face was calm. Focused. Then, suddenly, he looked up. Our eyes locked. Neither of us said a word. Because what could we possibly say? He didn't flinch when he saw me. That might have been the most jarring part. He just closed the laptop slowly, his eyes never leaving mine, as if he'd been waiting for this moment. As if it were inevitable. I stepped inside the room and closed the door behind me, the sound far too final for comfort. My breath was shallow, my skin cold despite the warmth of the house, of the wine still humming through my blood. "What the hell were you doing?" I asked, but it came out barely above a whisper. "I could lie," he said. "But I think you'd rather hear the truth." I didn't answer. I couldn't. My legs felt like paper. I sat down on the edge of the chaise near the window, as far from him as I could be, but it didn't feel far enough. He sighed, rubbed his hands together like he was trying to ground himself. "I found it by accident," he said. "At first. The file name meant nothing. I thought it was just an old backup drive. Curiosity got the better of me." "And then you stayed," I said bitterly. "Yes." A long, trembling silence passed between us. The sounds of the party downstairs felt like they belonged to another world. "I should be furious," I said, barely containing the rage, the shame, the sheer confusion swelling in my chest. "I am furious." He nodded slowly, then looked down at his hands. "I didn't watch it to get off. That's not what this is." "Then what is it, Adrian?" I snapped. "Because I'm having a hard time figuring out how you justify invading my privacy and, what? Making it into some confession." He looked at me then, and something in his eyes, hurt? Hope? Cut deeper than anger ever could. "I watched it because I wanted to see you," he said softly. The you I think about every time we pass each other in the hallway and don't speak. The version of you who isn't constantly swallowing her own needs. The version you've forgotten exists. Tears pricked the corners of my eyes. I hated that he was right. He stood, slow and cautious, and walked a few steps closer. You think this started with that video? It didn't. It started the moment I came back and saw how hollow you'd become. How alone you are, even when he's sitting next to you. I shook my head, but the tears spilled anyway. Don't, I whispered. You don't get to say that. Why not? His voice cracked. Because I'm your stepson. Because it's taboo. That's all true. But none of it changes what's real. He crouched down in front of me, not touching me, just looking, searching. I know this is wrong. I know it's messy and complicated and probably unforgivable. But for once, I wanted to stop pretending. I wanted to stop hiding behind politeness and duty and all the things we tell ourselves we have to be. I covered my mouth, choking on the sob that escaped. He stood again, quietly, gave me one last look, the kind that felt like a goodbye. I'm leaving tonight, he said. I'll never come back if you don't want me to. But I needed you to know that I saw you. All of you. And I wanted you, not just that version of you on the screen. But the one sitting right here, right now, breaking. He walked out the door without another word. And just like that, the silence swallowed me whole. After Adrian left that night, I sat in the quiet dark of my bedroom until the sky turned lavender with morning. The house had emptied, the party long over, but inside me, something had cracked open. Something I didn't know I'd been keeping sealed for years. Tom never noticed. He slept through it all. When he finally stirred, kissed my shoulder and muttered a sleepy happy birthday again, I smiled and nodded. I don't think he saw the way my eyes didn't match my smile. Or maybe he did, and he didn't want to ask. Adrian sent one message, a week later. Just a simple line. I meant every word, but I understand. Take care of yourself. No pressure. No apology. Just space. I never responded. Some days I think about reaching out. Most days I don't. I tell myself I did the right thing, chose the line of least destruction, the morally clear path. But if I'm honest, sometimes I dream of that version of me he saw, the one who hadn't gone numb. The one who laughed, moaned, breathed with hunger. Not out of need, but out of being wanted. And I wonder, what does it say about me that I miss being seen even if it came in the most complicated way? Tom and I are still married. We've started talking more, not deeply, but more than before. Sometimes he watches me like he's trying to figure out who I've become. Sometimes, I wonder if he even knows I've changed. Or if he's just relieved the peace hasn't been disturbed. But no. There's a version of me that lives in memory now, part fantasy, part truth, kept in the quiet between pages of my journal, behind passwords and glances never acted on. We all carry secrets. Some are sharp. Others soft. Some are wrapped in guilt, and some, like this one, are wrapped in a strange kind of gratitude. I didn't have an affair. But I crossed a threshold in my heart. And I'm still figuring out what that makes me. Maybe that's the real story here. Not what happened, but what it changed.